been a long time coming, and while I'm not officially back, let's make this a bit of an extravaganza, a pre-celebration as I try to get back into the swing of things, and hopefully you guys will like this. Hit the intro!
All stories, unless stated, do not belong to me and were sent in. If you'd like to send in your own story, hit me up on my Instagram social media, as well as my Tumblr and even my Twitter. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell if you'd like to get more content such as this, and if you'd like to support the channel as well as myself, go and check out my Redbubble that has all of my fan art as well as multiple things that I've created that you can buy: t-shirts, mugs, scarves, anything you can think of to help support the channel. Thank you.
All accounts are secondhand, as I have had little contact with the president, aka Weebs, with this story, and my cousin had purposely steered me away from her. So on to the story, and just to let you guys know, everybody in the story is going to be anonymous. My cousin, at 2 years older than me, started high school before me, and my cousin at the time gravitated towards the anime club where he met the previous president, called O. Now, O was pretty great of a president for 2 years. He was in the club, but the anime pool was shallow, and they would only watch Dragon Ball and other mainstream anime. People were also a bit tired of O's selection, so when the anime club elections came up, the weeb made her pitch. A voting system put in place where the 3 highly requested non-mainstream anime would be watched, and as a result, a good chunk of the club was hooked. So when the voting came, she obviously won her role as president for the following year. The weeb the following year started off strong, and I was pretty happy to be in the club. The first few months were great and pretty fun. Then January rolled around. In January, she stopped showing up to the club. Something that she had to warn us in advance about, because this was an after-school club and a lot of us had buses to take if there was no club, leaving us stranded. She could have also said club meeting today on the club, reminding everyone was already heading home on our buses. This caused the attendance to go down slightly, and the kids who were stranded would go to the building video game club, which eventually led to the club to grow. A bunch of us strayed because we were actually promised 2 con trips as club field trips, one of which had already happened, and we had a bunch of fun at. The second con rolled around, and we were all pretty excited. That was until she didn't show up for the 3 weeks leading up to the con and was unable to get the forms needed. The trip was cancelled, and we were all miffed. But we figured that this was going down in her life, and then came the 2 girls who came forward. Now, these 2 girls had been previously banned for misbehavior, but my cousin decided to go deeper. Turns out they were banned because the weeb found out that they were going around to the anime club director to have her impeached for the blatant unprofessionalism and harassing other club goers. So the weeb banned and blacklisted them from the similar clubs. This of course came out, but nothing was done of it. At this time, it was the end of the year, and my cousin, who had been the anime club photographer, applied and became the anime club president for the following year, while the weeb barely showed up for the meetings. This, along with the spots of drama that were coming to light, caused the anime club's rep to go down the toilet. And once my cousin got involved, it was practically unsavageable. But he pushed through it, and the next year rolled around and barely anyone bothered to show up, because they were now involved with the growing video game club, and the reputation of the anime club being terrible was there. I stood by him being supportive until I got into a car accident, where I was unable to support him in favor of physical therapy until the last leg of the club. It was the winter of 2018. The bitter cold wind gusting through the city of Redacted was colder than usual, and I was walking down the street of the university where I would be taking my GLPT test. I walked through the old door, and I was immediately greeted by an old Japanese woman who explained to me what was going on and where I needed to go. Behind me was a young man with dyed pink hair and an anime shirt. He began to speak with the poor old lady with incomprehensible Japanese, and of course, the lady did not understand. This frustrated him greatly, and he sauntered off. That was the last time I encountered that fellow, not fallow, VB, learn your English. Fast forward 2 hours, 5 minutes before the test began. I went up to my classroom and took a seat in my assigned spot. Test takers filled the classroom, and since there was still time left, I made sure to eye everyone in the classroom. There was another young man in the room, but this one had dyed his hair blue rather than pink. He was wearing a black shirt, black pants, black socks, and dirty gym shoes. The young man had a really pissy look on his face, and he was crossing his arms like he was the tsundere of an anime or something. More people came into the classroom. A young girl, maybe around the age of 13, came into the room with half of her head shaven, the other of her head, with a dyed white hair that maybe 8 inches long. She walked into the room, said konnichiwa in the most annoying way conceivable, and sat in her seat, staring at the desk. That's the last time I heard her spoke. The teacher finally walked into the room and greeted everyone with a smile to calm everyone down because the test is a big deal. To start up some conversation, she asked the classroom the reason why they were taking the test. The young man with the blue hair immediately sprang up, as in stood up and pushed the desk away from him, folded his arms in sternly, and declared, "I'm taking the test because somebody told me I couldn't." Then squinted his eyes at the teacher. There was 10 seconds of silence, probably because everyone was trying to process what just happened. The teacher was the first to put up the pieces together. She spoke, "Oh, you're proving them wrong?" The young man then grunted, sat back in his chair like a 5-year-old, and proceeded to cross his arms for the third time. The test began, and everyone was quiet, until break began. As soon as break begun, everyone got up to go leave to the classroom to do whatever. The blue-haired dude looked around the room and said in his nasally voice, "Hey, did anyone hear that a new season of SAO?" Now listen, I wouldn't have a problem talking about anime in a non-professional environment, but the fact that he brought it up in an academic place where it doesn't belong is more than a little obnoxious. Anyway, after no one replied to him, he got this look of utter despair on his face. He then took out his phone and started looking at anime prawn. The audacity of some people absolutely shocks me. I don't understand how someone could just be lacking such self-awareness that it just tears fissures in space. The dude never caught on, and I'm not the kind of person to rat him out because that'd just be wrong, so I just let it slide. The test was boring and easy. The blue-haired guy was noticeably had issues because he just kept grunting during the second half of the test. And the fact that he brought it up in the test was boring and easy. The dude with blue hair had noticeable issues because he just kept on grunting during the second half of the test. When I finished, I went downstairs and left immediately without looking back. Let me get started by saying this isn't your average one weeb deal. This was like a gaggle of them. Anyways, it's around the start of the school year. I had this group of weebs in my gym class. Nothing big. It didn't get bad up until they found out I like 60s anime Lupin the Third. They then thought it'd be a good idea to yell, "It is I, Lupin the Third," to me in front of everyone in front of the school. Sure, it's annoying, but it only got worse from there. So a couple months later, a dude I later found out is a member of this weeb gang I'll call Jeff, ran into me in the hallway. I'm just walking casually, and this guy randomly pokes me in both eyes. I'm ticked off, obviously. Luckily, my sis bumps into me and tells him to screw off. He then mutters, "Some people can't take jokes." Nothing comes of this until the last run-in a couple of months later. I'm going to my locker, run into Jeff. He's standing behind me and I'm creeped out. I ask him what he wants and he says, "The way you cry turns me on." I then make a run for it. I'm creeped out and tell his friends about it. He chases me down the hallway and I start walking faster and he walks even faster too. I dart down the hallway and he then tackles me and I punch him in the stomach and tell him he's a creep. It was not a fun time. Sorry for the mouthful and that the story isn't that involved with anime, but this just wasn't too good to pass up on.